Good evening. So, hopefully I'll be able to combine this video with my previous video using my PC. If not, what I've done is I've taken both my bulk cruiser and my assault frigate. I've coloured the superstructure areas and the engine cores all in this colour called somber grey, and then I had to do a bit of retouching on the bone area using a skeletal bone and also this bone white colour to get it back to the nice yellow. Then what I've used is what's called a Blanco Studio Suco off-white colour, and just lightly dry brushed my bulk cruiser. You might be able to get a nice look of it. That's the original yellow on that side, and then you can see that it's now slightly got some white definition areas on it, looking more detailed. I've also painted the assault transport up the top there in a lighter grey colour, ash grey I think it's called. Now I am going to show the technique that I used to do the white highlights on the rest of this bulk cruiser. On this side here, then start the same process on the assault cruiser. So basically taking a dry brush, using some of this off-white, and like I generally put it on a flat surface, like a little bit on the palette itself. Just take a little bit at a time, sort of thing, spread it out very lightly so it's like just on the hint of the brush sort of thing. And then I just basically very fast strokes, taking over, leaving very much just a hint of that white colour. Doesn't really matter if it goes on the grey, because it also is a good highlight to show up the different superstructure areas as well, like I've done up here sort of thing. So yeah, just very lightly. Now, if you go over a section and it suddenly is quite thick, you can go back over it and just, when it's a lot drier, and take some of that smear off. But sometimes it actually works beneficial. You can now see that it's like really defining the shapes of each of those superstructure areas. I won't be dry brushing the engine area because like the engines are supposed to be very dark color. In most situations anyway. And as you can see, the off-white color is not too much by itself. But it's giving a nice strong look so that the recess areas are coming out still with that yellow initial down color, but the top colors, the top paneling is coming up nicely. The one thing to remember when dry brushing is that it doesn't matter which directionality that you go in. As long as you make the paint thin out as much as possible. And as you can see, already this bulk cruiser all by itself is pretty much almost done. Now, as you can see, I've already painted the insides of the engine with a bit of blue glow. And that is pretty much it for a first, second coat and also a highlight coat. I'll probably now put this aside and then come back to it in about a couple of hours and do some fine tuning of colors, like if I want to add anything. You can see that there is a recess section right here that looks like it might be for a docking bay. What I might do is I might color that in using some photos I've got on the internet of what that interior coloration might be, sort of thing. There seems to be an area right here which could be the bridges, so I'll get like a little bit of black stain and just mark those in. That was pretty good so far. And like you can see next to each other, that yellowy color has certainly faded in the bulk cruiser than it has for the actual assault frigate, which hasn't received any dry brushing yet. The dry brushing that I'm going to do for the assault frigate is going to be very light. It's just going to be over the grey areas. And then I'm just going to actually use an actual white rather than this off-white to do a dry brush on the actual dreadnought hull section right here, and then I'll be adding some colors to it, so not too much at all with this process. That's coming out, okay. Obviously, if I feel as though I've got a little bit too much, I can try and smear it off by using a little bit of dry brush, taking it back as much as possible. Or alternatively, if I do feel as though it's like gone completely, I can then do a dry brush of the blue again. Of the somber grey, I should say. Just like so. Just remembering to do it very lightly. So I'll give this bit of a fin at the back again, also a bit of a highlight of this off-white colour, and also the underside here. That's nice and highlighted now. And now I get my true dead white. Again, just very small amount. Thin it out as best as possible on the palette, so there's only like the tip on the brush. And then this time it's going to be a little bit more heavy. So it gets all of that beautiful raised area while leaving the recessed as much as possible. And I'm only going to do this long stroke wise. To try and sort of cut down on as much of getting into those cracks as possible. So you can see that that hull area right there is of a different coloration than the rest of it. Which looks good. Now, taking a nice thin brush sort of thing and looking at my colors selection of what I'm going to do for the likes of hull markings. I do have a couple of suggestions that have been floating around. One is by a blue, which, yeah, it's okay. I'm thinking more so a traditional, going for this nice dark red color sort of thing. And what it's going to be is a bit of a highlight, well, a bit more of a line markings on the ship. Maybe, just maybe, if I get it right enough, I may even do some symbolism. Actually, I might go with this color. That one seems to be a little bit dried up, unfortunately. Now, doing fine information, these come in handy, some magnifying glasses sort of thing I can easily wear, and gets me into the finer details of the area. So what I want to do is do these lines right here. So the top through there and through the top there. Something like that sort of thing. Obviously the red's a little bit watery, unfortunately, but I'll try and coagulate that a little